Hello, everyone. Simon Jacobson here. And being that it's a Super Bowl Sunday, that's what we'll be speaking about. The pregame show. A unique one, probably the only one of its kind. And that's called The Soul of the Super Bowl. What does the Kabbalah say about the Chiefs versus the Eagles? That's what we will be speaking about. This program is dedicated by Jonathan Wade in honor of his loving parents, Michael and Marianne Wade. Now, let's begin with a small little introduction, which needs to be addressed. And that is, as I've already gotten comments, Super Bowl, please, is part of the most decadent elements of Western society, completely commercialized. What does it have to do with anything that's true or real? It's just a game. It's you're connecting it to the soul, to Kabbalah, and so on. Yes, a very, very obvious question. But keep in mind, one of the key secrets of mystical thinking, spiritual thinking, is that spirituality is not out there. It's not up in heaven. It's not on some in the sky. It's not on some mountain. It's right here within us. It's within existence. It's a deeper dimension, a deeper state, a higher state of consciousness that lies beneath the surface. So if existence is like the tip of the iceberg, the soul of existence is what lies within, what makes you tick. Think of yourself. Just look at yourself right now, wherever you may be. You're a body, but you have a soul within you. The soul is invisible. We can't experience it with our five senses. You can't see it, you can't hear it, you can't taste, touch, or smell it. It may express itself sometimes in the senses, but it's primarily suprasensory. But it's the essence of who you are. And the same thing is true with everything in existence. The great mystic, the Baal Shem Tov, said that from everything we see and hear, we have to learn a lesson, derive a lesson. Because everything is driven by an invisible hand, the hand of divine providence. The truth is, even negative things, even things that are actually destructive, you can also learn lessons from. Obviously, that does not in any way condone or justify such behavior, but everything has a deeper lesson and a deeper message. So when we look at the Super Bowl, which, 100 million people will watch, 150 million. So it makes no difference. It could be completely Super Bowl superficial, and a game has nothing to do with reality. But the fact of the matter that even if one person was watching it, frankly, there's a lesson to be learned from it. Because there's always deeper messages in everything that exists around us. Even in the mundane, even in the secular, even the things that we would consider to be completely material. Matter and energy are interchangeable. So let's talk about the soul of the Super Bowl. So the first thing, before we get into the specific teams, the very fact that you have two teams pitted against each other represents the idea that each of us, within our own hearts and souls, also have two teams pitted against each other. You have your animal soul and you have your divine soul. This is not to suggest that one team is animal and one is divine. It's just suggesting that they're both equally matched, meaning the same amount of players, with all the same rules. They're given everything. It has to be a level playing field. Because without that, it's not fair. And that's why there'll be a penalty if there's an extra man, and so on. Now, how well they do, that already comes down to the skills and talents and strategies and methods of each one. So we too have essentially 10 faculties. We have our cognitive and our emotional faculties. And then we have them, either they will be used for positive things. Taking the ball means taking the ball of the earth, taking the ball of life. And are you going to get a touchdown either on one side of the field or on the other side of the field? Who will win? Will it be your selfless, transcendent self? Will it be your selfish, narcissistic self? Because we do indeed have both voices, every one of us. Every given moment of your life, you don't have to wait for Super Sunday. Every given moment of your life, you have the forces, the voices that will drive you and draw you in both directions. And the challenge is to make sure, obviously, that you're divine, transcendent, you're sublime, the better angels within you win. But it's a battle. And it will be a battle that will be not just 60 minutes. It's a battle that will last your entire lifetime. So that's lesson number one. And there are two equal forces. Lesson number two is that it's in your control. Ball control is critical here. And ball control consists of a run, it can consist of a pass, it consists of different methods. I don't know if we have the time to go into every type of play in football, but definitely you can learn lessons from them. And I should mention that some of the great mystics and rabbis and scholars, when it came to playing chess, they actually look at every chess move and the players and the strategies and learn deeper lessons from them. The same as another game called soccer, which the world calls football actually. We call it soccer, to distinguish between football, that too. And some of what I'm sharing here is taken from those lessons and messages. And we have control. Now, what's the difference between a pass, a throw, or a run? It's a difference of whether you're doing something that is like leaping. You know, when you run, you can only run one step at a time. You can run quickly. So at times when we face our challenges, we have to walk or run, which means maneuver through the situation. But sometimes we go from the top down. We take a leap of faith. We try something risky. But with it, what can happen is that you can actually gain much more ground. So in life as well, there are times we have to go step by step or even run by run, but you're still doing it on the ground. And at times we just have to take an attitude that says, you know what, I'm just going to do something wild, something that will gain a lot more ground. And the truth is, life is a balance. There are times you need to walk step by step, and there are times you need to pass. Now, what about punting? Well, sometimes we punt the ball, which means we're not dealing one way or the other. We just move it on to the next. We don't usually like to say they just punted the ball. But at times that may be the approach, especially when you're in a weaker state and you need to buy time, so at least you have the power to punt something. And the truth is, as you go through every part of the game, you can definitely find lessons in our personal lives. Now, of course, a touchdown is a great thing, but it's still not winning the game. A touchdown means that you've gained 6 points or 7 points with the extra point. So there too, you know, in the little battles of our lives, or the great battles, we gain a touchdown. But remember, the other side can also do that. And in life, we have to know there will be setbacks. You won't always win a shutout. It won't always be a 40-0 score, or whatever the score may be. Most often, it will be something in between, which shouldn't perturb us. That's part of life. Now you'll say, what about interceptions and what about fumbles? Well, you think about it in life as well. There are times we fumble and we make a mistake and we try to reverse it, try to correct it, compensate for it. Sometimes it will be intercepted. We have a good intention, but then it doesn't turn out exactly as we wish. But the bottom line is you're always looking to move forward. You're never looking to go back. And even when there is a setback, and even when there's a sack, and you maybe, for the moment, feel like you've had a setback, you've failed, don't ever see it as the end of the story. You'll see the greatest players, the greatest leaders, the quarterbacks are always going to be those that lead the way, that there's always hope till the last second. And we never give up hope. We keep forging ahead. It's interesting, the 100 yards, actually in Kabbalistic thought, the number 100 is a complete number, 10 times 10, the 10 faculties times 10. That's 100. So 50 would be half of that. And in a sense, each team has like 50 yards. That's their 50, their 50. And again, pitted against each other equally. So that's a general overview of the battle as it plays itself in our lives. As I said, tremendous lessons can be learned from this. In confidence, in success. And look at the beginning of a game, what happens. Look how the team comes together. They cheer each other on. There's a need for having that sense of confidence, even before you begin the battle. There was a custom in the old days when people went to war, different armies. They would march a march of victory. Even when they went the outside of the battle, even before they began. They didn't even fight yet. But you have to have that confidence, because a lot of the battle is psychological warfare, to know that you can win. And often when you have that confidence, that can compensate sometimes for some other weakness. So that's yet another lesson in this. But let's take it now to the very fact of the eagles and the chiefs, or the chiefs and the eagles. So I was thinking about it. Is there any Kabbalistic references to those names? So eagle in Hebrew is a nesher. A nesher is an eagle. A chief is essentially a leader. Chief is a leader. So you could say the eagle, the Talmud tells us that the eagle is the king among the birds. The lion is the king among animals. The ox is the king among livestock, cattle. And the eagle is the king among birds. As we see talk about proud like an eagle, fly like an eagle. It has that type of majesty. Yes, an eagle is also a predator, but an eagle is the highest flying bird, which is one of the reasons the eagle carries its children, its chicks, on its back. Other birds carry them under with their legs, with their talons, with their feet. Why? Because they don't want an eagle or a higher flying bird to come and catch their children. An eagle, being the highest flying one, is not concerned with that. So that's why we have in the Bible the story when the Jews left Egypt. It says like God took them out like on the wings of eagles. The wing of eagles. That's what is carried on. So you have the eagle as that representative. The chief is, like you can say, basically the leaders among men. So where do you find that symbolism? Indeed, you find it. In the book of Ezekiel, which itself is a mystical book, when he describes his mystical vision of a chariot, of a divine chariot, he says, I see something with 4 faces. And what are the 4 faces? One is the face of a lion, the face of an ox, the face of an eagle, and the face of a human being. In a second place, Ezekiel describes it, instead of ox, he replaces that with the face of a child. You have the face of a young child, the face of an older a human being. So I was thinking about it, because if the eagles are the chiefs are the kings among the people. So many ways this battle is perhaps one. In the verse in Proverbs, there's a very interesting statement. King Solomon says, there are 3 things that shocked me, 3 things that amazed me, that surprised me. And the first thing he says about that the way of the eagle is in the heaven. The eagle flies in the heaven. And what is it that surprised him exactly? What is that about? So the Kabbalist, the great mystic Isaac Luria, talks about that. And Hasidic thought develops the idea because the eagle represents compassion. Compassion, especially to its own. It carries its children on its back, on its wings. And the eagle represents compassion. And in that sense, on the other hand, the eagle is a predator. So how do you reconcile the two? And that's what amazed King Solomon, that the eagle, on one hand being a predator, flies so high. And the answer is because being a predator also has an element of power. And the key is to channel the aggression into compassion, to channel the aggression into soaring like an eagle. In other words, the goal is not to be a predator. And indeed it says in the Messianic times, there will be no longer predators. So the eagle's power should be transformed and channeled and harnessed into strength, to soaring like an eagle. On the other hand, when you talk about the chiefs, so you're talking about a human being who is a leader. Now, we know humans have the most power of all, even though they may be weaker than an eagle physically, but their ingenuity, as it is with other animals in the wild, including a lion, including an ox, including others, humans have learned to capture those creatures. So you have here, in a way, the challenge between 2 forces at work, the king among birds and the king among humans. But the key thing to remember is all of this was the vision of Ezekiel, that all of this is the chariot of God, and that's where they come together. So even though they may be pitted against each other in a battle, in the soul of the Super Bowl, in the Kabbalah of the chiefs versus the eagles, they are all simply instruments and vehicles. Indeed, it's called a vehicle, a merkava, a chariot, a vehicle for the divine. What is the meaning of that? That in a certain way, God wanted to create an interface between divine transcendence and our existence. Being that divine energy can be so intense, so he channeled it through four different archetypes. And in each one, a king in each one. The king among the animals, the lion, the king among the livestock, the ox. And what we're concerned with is the king among the birds, and the leader among the human beings, which is the human being who has the power. And each of them are meant to channel the divine strength in this world. So at the end of the day, they are all simply instruments. They don't have any power of their own. They were given power. So when we look at our own selves, and we have ourselves also these two personality types, when we have that spirit within us, and sometimes we like to call it, we want that spirit to soar, to spread our wings like an eagle, and soar in the heavens, which means experiencing high levels of transcendence. At the same time, we also have to ground it. A human being doesn't fly on their own. So a human being grounds it all, brings the soul into the body, into this world, and achieves transcendence within existence. So in truth, these are just representatives of different transcendent experiences, all called being a king. So you have the dignity, the majesty, and a calf, which is human transgression. The child represents innocence. So though that's not so relevant to our discussion, just wanted to add that footnote. So my friends, this is a pregame, so I'm not going to do the full game here. It's a pregame meant to really trigger food for thought to be able to understand the deeper meaning, even in something like the Super Bowl, which comes and goes. We understand on one hand it's superficiality, even though millions, billions are spent around it. That's why it's worth talking about. But what will last long after all the different foods we eat and after all the different excitement about the game itself, what will last are the lessons and how it impacts us. And keep in mind that those points, that number one is life is a battle, and the key is that make sure that the divine part of you always wins. And in truth, whether it's the Eagles or the Chiefs that will win the game, the bottom line is both of them represent divine forces, different types. And essentially, you can say it's the battle between the bird and the man, the battle between the eagle and the chief. And ultimately, like we always would say when we were in color war in camp, and they would always say, no matter who wins, if you win or lose, everybody wins. It's true, the lesson that we learn from this is a winner for all of us. So may we all be blessed, having a good time, enjoying the game, if that's what you're doing. Or if you're focusing on the spiritual dimension, even better. And may it all really help us all grow into becoming greater people. People who can soar like an eagle, who can lead like a chief, and demonstrate being a role model, that life is not about material successes, it's about our spiritual growth, our spiritual ability to expand and to transform this material world into a spiritual environment, into a garden, into a beautiful garden for the divine. And that's the ultimate message and the ultimate lesson. So thank you for joining me in this pregame show, in this pregame discussion on the Kabbalah of the Super Bowl. This has been Simon Jacobson. And please share. Above all, share this. If you feel inspired by this, definitely share. Love to hear feedback, comments, suggestions. We have many different programs that are both live and some that are archived. Check it out at meaningfullife.com, and especially subscribe on our YouTube channel right here at Meaningful Life Center. Again, it's been an honor and a pleasure. And may we soar like eagles and lead like chiefs.